All right, so teacher tenure, right? You get your degree, put in your time, jump through those hoops, and then bam, tenure. But what happens after that? Is it just coasting, smooth sailing from there on out?
Well, that's what we're going to dive into today.
That's right. We are diving deep.
This topic really makes you think about what it means to be a teacher, especially once they've got tenure.
For sure.
We're going to be checking out some interesting ideas from Dr. Howie Knoff, who's been working with schools to help them get better at teaching and learning.
He's got this whole framework, right?
Yeah, for how to keep teachers motivated and effective, not just for those first few years, but really throughout their entire careers.
Not just skimming the surface here.
No, we're going deep.
We've got some excerpts from one of his blog posts. It really lays out this vision he has, right?
It does.
4 pillars to his system. But we're going to be focusing on one that's especially relevant to, well, to everyone listening, I think. Continuing teacher appointments and coaching.
This is where things get really fascinating, I think. Dr. Knopf says the way we usually evaluate teachers is kind of, I don't know, limited.
Okay, limited how?
It's all about job security. Like, is this teacher good enough to keep their job? And a lot of the motivation boils down to money. How do we keep teachers happy with money?
Yeah, I can see that. Hit the benchmarks, you get a pay bump, and everybody just kind of moves on.
Right, exactly.
But Dr. Knopf is pushing for something bigger here, right?
She is.
Like a real shift in how we think about all this.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying we need to create this whole culture where professional development, it's not just something you got to do to, keep your job.
Right.
It's part of what it means to be a teacher.
Exactly. It's about really supporting teachers, helping them grow, evolve, become the best educators they can be. And this idea of continuing teacher appointments, that's just one piece of this whole bigger framework that he has. Just to give you an idea, his other pillars cover things like how teachers are hired, how they're oriented when they first start, how they go through that induction process and get tenure in the first place, and how we can set up these pathways for teachers to become leaders as they move through their careers.
So it's not just about one little piece.
No.
It's the whole puzzle, right?
It is.
Okay, so let's zoom in on these continuing teacher appointments. What is Dr. Knopf actually suggesting here?
Well, he says tenure shouldn't be this one and done kind of thing.
Okay.
Instead, he envisions teachers having reappointments after 6 years and then every 10 years after that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this isn't about punishing teachers or making it high pressure.
Right.
It's more about formalizing this commitment to, constantly developing yourself professionally. It's about creating a system where teachers are actually encouraged to stay up to date on the latest research, to, try new strategies in their classroom.
So they're supported in doing that too.
And supported, yeah. And also to find ways to actually become leaders in their schools.
So it's not just about keeping up with the bare minimum. It's about actually pushing yourself to learn and grow as a teacher.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah.
How does this play out in practice, though? Is there a specific tool teachers use or a process to guide this development?
That's where the professional development plan comes in, the PDP. That's a key piece of his model. Think of it like a roadmap, a personalized roadmap for a teacher's growth.
I like that, a roadmap. So it's not just another form you got to fill out.
Yeah.
It's actually designed to help teachers.
Exactly. It helps them define their own goals, track their progress, and really think about how they've grown over time.
Yeah.
And it's not just created in a vacuum either.
Okay.
Dr. Knopf sees the PDP as being really tied to the school's overall vision and goals.
Okay. So this is where it gets connected to the bigger picture.
Exactly.
We're going to have to talk about that connection more. But first, can you break down this PDP for us a little bit? What's actually in it?
Sure. So there are 3 main sections to the PDP. And the way Dr. Knopf structures these, it's really insightful. You can tell he's really thought about what teachers should be focusing on as they, move through their careers. The first section focuses on research and curriculum development.
Oh, interesting.
It's about encouraging teachers to stay curious, to really dig into the latest research in their fields, to think creatively about how to design engaging and effective curriculum.
So it's not just about using the same old textbooks and lesson plans year after year.
No, it's about finding ways to bring new ideas and energy into the classroom.
Exactly. Okay, what's the second section?
The second one focuses on instruction and student learning. And this is where teachers really analyze, how they're teaching, look at student data, and figure out what they can improve on.
So being reflective. Okay, this strategy isn't working, got to try something different.
Yeah. Being willing to try new things.
I'm guessing this third section connects to the whole leadership piece we were talking about.
You got it. The third section is all about school, district, and Dragoni community service. And this is where teachers can look at ways to share their expertise, mentor other teachers, take on leadership roles, or even get involved in initiatives that, benefit the whole school community.
Okay, so this is where you see teachers going beyond just their own classrooms,
Right.
really becoming leaders in the school.
Precisely.
Okay. One thing I find interesting about this PDP is that, well, the time frame for it changes depending on how experienced the teacher is, right?
It does. So for brand new teachers, those just starting out who haven't gotten tenure yet, it's a 3-year document.
Makes sense.
But for those going through this continuing appointment process, it's a 5-year document.
Okay, longer time frame.
But no matter the time frame, there's this accountability piece built in with annual evaluations to make sure, everybody's on track.
Wait, hold on. You said accountability. Did that mean if a teacher doesn't, meet their PDP goals, there are actual consequences?
That's right. This isn't just, a feel-good activity. There's a system to make sure teachers are really taking professional development seriously.
Okay.
If a teacher's annual evaluation isn't acceptable, they can resubmit documentation or they can, address whatever issues there are. But if those issues keep happening, it could mean probation or even losing tenure.
Wow, so the stakes are actually pretty high. This isn't just, encouraging growth.
Where it's not.
It's about making sure teachers are meeting certain standards.
Right.
And
It is.
and that they're actually contributing to the school's success. I'm really curious about how this PDP connects to the school's goals. We talked about that before. How does that work?
Yeah, so Dr. Knopf is very clear that the PDP shouldn't be created in isolation.
Okay.
It needs to be directly tied to the school's professional development initiatives, which themselves should be lined up with the overall school improvement plan.
Okay, time out for a quick definition. For those of you who maybe aren't familiar with all the education lingo, the school improvement plan, it's like the master plan for the school year.
Right.
Outlines the school's priorities, areas they want to improve on, and how they're going to achieve those goals.
Exactly.
So when a teacher is creating their PDP, they're not just picking random goals. They're looking at that school improvement plan, and they're thinking, okay, how can my growth as a teacher actually help us reach those school-wide goals?
That's the idea.
How can I learn new skills and knowledge that'll help us, really make progress on these priorities?
Right.
Okay, I see. So the PDP becomes a way to connect what each teacher's working on to those big goals the school has. It's not just everybody doing their own thing. It's working together towards a shared vision.
Right.
This alignment is where the real magic happens, right?
This is where the power of Dr. Knopf's model really shines.
Tell me more. What are the benefits of having this strong connection between individual PDPs and the school improvement plan? What does it actually look like in a real school?
Well, for one, it creates this sense of shared purpose, Teachers feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
They can see how their growth is helping the whole school succeed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like you're not just working on your own little island. You're part of a team working towards a common goal.
Yeah.
And that can be motivating.
Exactly. And from the school's point of view, it makes sure that their efforts for professional development are strategic. They're not just wasting money on random workshops or conferences.
Or making every dollar count.
They're investing in areas that actually matter to their priorities.
I could see how that would be appealing to, administrators. It makes the whole professional development thing way more focused on results.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the teachers. You said that the percentage of the PDP that's assigned by the administration, that changes depending on how experienced the teacher is.
It does.
Can you explain that a little more? How does that actually work?
Sure. So for a brand new teacher, someone just starting out and they haven't achieved tenure yet, 100% of their PDP is decided by the administration.
Okay.
Which makes sense, right? They're still getting the hang of things, learning about the school's curriculum, how everything works, still developing those teaching skills.
Yeah, in those early years, I can see why that kind of guidance would be really helpful.
It is. It's like having that roadmap and a guide all in one.
Exactly. But what happens when teachers have more experience under their belts? Do they get more say in what their PDP looks like?
They do. And that's a key part of Dr. Knopf's model. As teachers move through that continuing appointment process, they get more and more autonomy over their own professional development. So, for example, a teacher going through their first continuing appointment, they've been teaching for 6 years. The administration decides 75% of their PDP, and they get to decide the other 25%.
So there's still some oversight,
Yeah.
but the teacher has a voice in the process.
Right, they do. And then for a teacher going through their second continuing appointment, usually after about 16 years, it flips. The administration only decides 25%, and the teacher gets to choose the other 75%.
Wow, okay. So it really is like climbing a ladder where you get more and more control over your own professional development as you know, gain experience and show dedication.
Exactly.
I imagine that must be pretty empowering for teachers,
Yeah.
especially those who've been in the classroom for a while and really have, a clear vision for what they want to learn.
Absolutely. And that increased autonomy, it can come with other benefits too, like leadership opportunities or even salary increases.
Ooh, that's interesting.
We're going to dig into that later, but for now, I think the important thing is that Dr. Knopf's model, it really values the expertise that those experienced teachers bring to the table.
It's about creating a system where teachers get support in their early years, but then, as they go on, they're empowered to be leaders and really, really creative.
Exactly. It's about valuing teachers as professionals, not just as, as someone filling a position.
This is making me totally rethink what it means to be a tenured teacher. We've covered continuing appointments, the PDP, but there's another piece to Dr. Knopf's model I want to explore, coaching. How does that fit into this whole system?
That is a great question. And it's a topic that's especially relevant to, you as you're thinking about your own professional journey. We'll dive into that next. So we've really been getting into Dr. Knopf's ideas about continuing teacher appointments and the PDP, but let's shift gears a little bit now.
Right.
Let's look at this idea of coaching.
This is what I'm really interested in. I love mentorship and collaboration. So I'm excited to hear what Dr. Knopf has to say about how coaching fits into this system.
Well, he sees it as a really, really key part of this whole continuing appointment process.
Okay.
And the whole idea of helping teachers become leaders. Imagine a school where those tenured teachers, the ones who've gone through the reappointments and they've really honed their skills, imagine they become mentors for the newer teachers.
I like that.
Guide them through that same 6-year process of induction and getting tenure.
It's like this built-in support system, right, where experience is valued and it gets passed on.
Exactly.
Instead of feeling like you're out there on your own as a new teacher,
Yeah.
you've got these veteran teachers you can go to for
Exactly.
guidance,
Yeah.
support.
It's not just about, holding their hand or showing them the ropes, though.
Right.
It's about creating this culture where everyone's constantly learning and growing and everyone benefits from, the experience and the knowledge in the school.
So it's a two-way street then. Even the experienced teachers can learn something from the newer teachers.
Oh, absolutely.
Interesting.
Mentoring can be so good for everyone involved.
Hmm.
It gives experienced teachers a chance to think about what they're doing,
Yeah.
And they can share all this wisdom they've picked up over the years.
Yeah.
And they get to hear those fresh perspectives from the teachers who are just starting out, which can be really energizing too.
I love that. So the newbies aren't the only ones learning here.
Yep.
It's this dynamic exchange where everyone's growing together.
Right.
But coaching, it's not just about one-on-one mentoring, right?
Right. You're right. Dr. Knopf suggests that those more experienced teachers could step into more formal leadership roles too.
All right.
Like they could be grade level leaders, department chairs, even lead school-wide committees.
So they're not just mentoring individuals anymore.
Nope.
They're actually shaping the direction the school's going in.
Exactly. They could even be on the school's leadership team,
Right.
having a say in school-wide policies and how they do things.
That just makes so much sense to me. Why wouldn't we want to use the experience of those teachers who've been there, done that, who know the school inside and out? It's like we're finally realizing what an incredible resource we have right there in the school.
That's exactly what Dr. Knopf is saying. It's about giving teachers the power to lead and to share their knowledge and skills with the whole school community.
Okay, so we've got mentorship, we've got formal leadership roles, but there's one more piece to this coaching idea that I'm really curious about.
Okay.
Specialization. What does Dr. Knopf say about that?
This is where that idea of a job ladder really comes into play. He suggests that teachers could get specialized training in areas that are, super important to the school's success.
Oh.
They become the in-house experts,
Oh, I like that.
and the school helps them do it.
So it's like saying, hey, we see you're really passionate about working with students with dyslexia. Great. We'll help you get certified as a dyslexia specialist.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can not only work with those students directly, but you can also share what you know with your colleagues.
That's it. The school would help out financially, and they'd give the teacher time to do it because they recognize how important it is to have these in-house experts
Right.
who can then help the whole teaching staff get better.
It's like building up the school's expertise from within.
Exactly.
Instead of always having to rely on outside people or sending teachers to expensive workshops, the school invests in its own teachers and creates this team of specialists who are really invested in seeing the school succeed.
And these specializations would be based on what that particular school needs.
Oh, okay.
So if a school's having trouble, let's say, meeting the needs of English language learners, they might encourage a teacher to become a specialist in ESL instruction.
Or if a school's trying out this new project-based learning thing, they might support a teacher to become an expert in that and then have that teacher lead professional development for everyone else.
Exactly.
It's all about matching the expertise to what the school needs and what it's trying to achieve.
Right. Dr. Knopf talks about all kinds of possibilities. Differentiated instruction, social skills instruction, working with students who have gone through trauma, even becoming like a tech integration specialist.
Wow, so many options.
It all depends on what the school needs and what the teachers are passionate about.
I love how this system recognizes that teachers, they're not all the same.
No.
They all have their own talents and interests and things they're really good at. And this model, it lets them develop those skills and share them with the whole school.
It's about treating teachers like the professionals they are, and giving them the chance to really be great at what they do.
Okay, so we've talked about mentorship, leadership, and specialization. I'm starting to see the big picture of this coaching model. But let's zoom out for a second and think about how this all ties back to the PDP and the continuing appointment process.
Great question. The PDP, it actually becomes the roadmap for these coaching and leadership opportunities.
Okay.
Remember that third section of the PDP, the one about school, district, and community service? That's where teachers would lay out their goals for becoming mentors, taking on leadership roles, or, getting that specialized training.
So it's not just about, going to a workshop or reading a book.
Right. It's about actually doing something with that knowledge.
It's about actually finding ways to put it into practice and share it with other people.
Exactly.
And because that PDP is connected to the school improvement plan, those coaching and leadership opportunities, they're also connected to the school's overall goals.
Exactly. It's all linked together.
So it's like this amazing interconnected system where everything works together to help teachers grow and to help students succeed.
I think what's so brilliant about Dr. Knox's model is that it's so holistic. He understands that teachers aren't just working by themselves. They're part of this bigger system. And how they grow is connected to how the whole school grows.
It's about creating this culture where everybody's learning together, collaborating, and trying to get better all the time.
And that leads to a really big question. What would it actually take to make this happen in the real world? How do we go from these ideas to things that schools and districts can actually do?
That is the question, isn't it?
It is.
And it's something we're going to keep digging into.
We are.
But for now, let's talk about some of the possible benefits and challenges of actually putting Dr. Knopf's model into practice.
Sounds good. Let's get into that.
So we've been digging into Dr. Knopf's model for teacher development, continuing appointments, PDPs, coaching, a lot of really interesting stuff.
A lot to unpack. Yep.
But like you said, the big question is, how do we actually do this?
Yeah.
Could this really work in real schools?
It's definitely a big change, but I think there's so much potential here. For teachers, for students.
In what way?
Well, imagine a school where teachers are genuinely excited about professional development,
Okay.
where they're not just going through the motions, but really looking for opportunities to learn and grow.
Yeah, that's a far cry from those old sit and get PD sessions I remember.
Oh, tell me about it.
Just sitting there trying to absorb information and hoping some of it sticks.
Dr. Knopf's model totally flips that around. It puts teachers in charge of their own learning,
Gives them that ownership. Okay, so we'd have more engaged teachers, more empowered teachers. What else? What other kinds of changes could we see?
Think about the impact on the whole school culture. When teachers are learning and collaborating all the time, it creates this energy that spreads everywhere.
Okay.
It becomes a place where people value innovation and creativity. Everyone's trying to improve.
And that's got to be good for the students, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's research that shows when teachers are engaged in their own professional growth, student achievement goes up.
So it's a win-win. Everyone benefits.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm on board with the potential benefits.
Right.
But let's be real, there got to be challenges too, right? Making a change like this is a big deal.
Oh, for sure. No system's perfect. I think one challenge would be getting everyone on board.
Like who?
Teachers, administrators, school boards, even parents.
Yeah.
They all need to understand this new way of thinking about professional development.
Because it really is a different way of thinking, isn't it?
It is.
We're so used to teacher evaluation being about, are you meeting the minimum standards?
Right.
Dr. Knopf is asking us to think, how can we help this teacher be the best they can be?
And that requires trust.
In what way?
Administrators need to trust teachers to take charge of their own growth, and teachers need to trust that the system's there to help them, not to punish them.
I see that. What about resources? I imagine
Yeah.
that could be a challenge too, right? Giving teachers time to do professional development, paying for training, it all adds up.
It does, and that's a conversation that needs to happen at the district level.
Okay.
Schools need to make professional development a priority and put their money where their mouth is.
So this isn't just about making a few little tweaks.
No.
It's about really committing to supporting teachers.
Long-term investment, but with huge potential payoff.
This has been such a thought-provoking deep dive. We've really explored a whole new way of thinking about teacher tenure and professional development.
We have.
And I gotta say, I'm feeling pretty optimistic about what's possible.
Me too. This
Yeah.
model could really change things, not just for individual schools, but for education as a whole.
So I want to bring it back to you, our listener. We've shared a lot of ideas today. What stands out to you?
Maybe you're a teacher thinking about your own career path. Maybe you're an administrator trying to create a better environment for your teachers.
Or maybe you're a parent or someone in the community who cares about making sure our students have great teachers.
Right.
Wherever you're coming from, we hope this deep dive has given you some new things to think about.
We hope so.
This conversation about how teachers develop, it's so important. It's not just about keeping teachers in the classroom. It's about creating a system that helps them be their best.
It's about giving every student the chance to learn from teachers who are passionate, dedicated, and really good at what they do.
And that's worth fighting for. So keep thinking about these ideas, talk to your colleagues, share what you've learned, and let's keep this conversation going.
The future of education depends on us supporting those amazing teachers who are out there shaping young minds.
Until next time, keep diving deep.